got beat by a better team on Saturday. That's the short of it. Credit Coach Kleiman and his team. Played and coached poorly in the second half. Got outmanned when we had a run of injuries there. Recap, special teams played really well in all phases. Thought we won that phase. Defensively, best we played in the first half. One big play hurt us on the long touchdown. Really good versus the run throughout. Thought our D-line played at a high level versus the run. And then I said after the game, not good enough in pass coverage. Offensively, moved the ball in the first half. Interceptions hurt us. And then second half was poor. Just really, really disappointing, poor performance. Arizona, looking forward to getting out there, really. Both teams need a win. Special teams, they got a really good kicker. Their returner's dangerous. Difficult tackle, kind of different than some of the other returners we played thus far. But he's a difficult tackle, really sound in what they're doing. On offense, the quarterback's a playmaker. He's been special for 2 years. They got a big-time receiver that's as talented as anybody we've played all year. He's going to be an issue that we've got to have a plan for. And then defensively, watching them, I remember when I was at Tech as a coordinator and Coach Aquino was the secondary coach and co-DC down at Texas, and a lot of man coverage. They're aggressive up front, tacking, a bunch of different fronts. So that's going to be a challenge too. So with that, questions, Greg?
So I could start with the injuries. I know you got a lot of them.
Yeah, so just ask in general, ask about individuals, and I'll kind of give you an update.
The three from offensive guys.
Yep. So Wyatt, too early to tell. No later in the week. Same with Garrett. Jaheim, I feel good about. I think by the middle of the week he'll be able to go, and so I feel good about him. Jaden Bray will still be. I think he'll be out this week. We had a chance to get him back after the bye. Burks will not. He won't be available this week. Garnes hopeful. Hopefully he'll be practicing by Wednesday.
Played, but he was obviously limited.
He was limited, but I thought he gave us some really good snaps. He and him and Russell went out some point in the third quarter. Both of them played well. They didn't neither practice much last week, but I thought they gave us some good snaps, and fully expect them to play.
So here's the question: won't give us the Nico report. What you weren't real thrilled.
No, he didn't play Saturday. He didn't play well. Didn't play well. I don't think it's a fair assessment of where he's at. Oklahoma State, he played really well. And so, but he also had a great week of preparation that week, and he practiced well. And I wasn't surprised. Last week, missed practice on Tuesday, and then wasn't real sharp, so he didn't practice real well. So, and that's kind of how he played. But he's going to get a bunch of reps. So if his number's called, he'll be ready, and I expect him to play at a high level.
Is Garrett the type of guy that has enough experience where he doesn't necessarily need to practice?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think it's too early to tell on any of that. He didn't practice today, and so I'm not saying he's out. I think it's too early to tell, so we'll just kind of play it by ear.
If it wasn't for the Garrett injury, you mentioned before that he wasn't playing poor enough to lose his job yet. Would there be any decision off of?
Did you watch the last two drives of the first half?
He was playing well there for sure.
So I think it's a non-starter. All right, next question. He went 90-plus yards twice.
This week, it's your furthest game for regular season. Some people change because of the lengthy travel. Do you change anything? What do you change?
So that's a great question. All right, because this is the way I've got it. So we go to Lubbock every other year. We've been going to Lubbock. It's not a whole lot further than that. So we're not treating it a whole lot of different. The biggest change for us that our kids will notice, our players will notice, is we got to leave out of Pittsburgh rather than Clarksburg. That's the biggest change. But we got fortunate. The league was good to us because the television people, not the league, but the television people were good to us. So we're playing 7 o'clock Eastern, which it's not for our guys' bodies. We're going to be fine. So we're not going to make a big deal out of it, other than we got to leave out of Pittsburgh.
Yesterday, you mentioned that in the summer.
No, we're not. We probably would, Mike, if we were on the other side, if we had a game on the other side. But because we don't have a game, we got a bye week, so now we'll be getting back nice and early in the morning.
With a position like quarterback, do you give yourself a target day? It's like I need to know what this is going to be by X day, or is that just one of those things where you just have to play by ear?
I think you just play it. You play it. I think each situation you got to be hard. You got to be really careful not to restrict yourself. But first of all, you got to make the right decision for that player first and foremost. Like, we're never going to put anybody out there that's not ready. Or just as a coach and a parent, you don't want to ever put anybody's son out there if you don't feel great about it, right? So I think that's the first hurdle you gotta overcome. And then regardless of position, do they have enough experience or do they have enough practice time to be prepared to go play? So, and I think they're all on an individual basis. In regards to Garrett, I think he does have a lot of experience, but it's difficult to play without any practice time. And go back what Keenan was asking. But I think it's too early in the week, like probably have more, Wednesday, Thursday, better idea kind of where he's at.
Schematically, 4-2-5, is that what they primarily?
Yeah, they're out, but they mix up the fronts. a lot of bare front. They'll slide up. Danny Gonzalez is their special teams coordinator, and so he coaches their linebackers. He was a previous head coach in New Mexico, but he's in the Rocky Long kind of tree. And you can see some remnants of that, what they're doing too. But they give you a lot of different looks and a lot of man coverage, and they're talented in the back end. They've had some injuries, but they're talented in the back end.
Ryder Burton get a lot more reps this week.
Yeah, he'll move up to 2 if Garrett can't go for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So give us a little bit of a look into what does he do?
Yeah, so excuse me, Greg. He's a young player too. So he's a redshirt freshman, had a really great prep career kind of in Colorado, was a major recruit for BYU, and he's got a live arm, can run, but not necessarily a guy that you're going to call a bunch of run plays for, but is good enough to be able to protect himself. And so, and he's really intelligent, but he's a young player, hadn't played a whole lot of football at the collegiate level. So, but he'll get reps if Garrett can't go. He'll get reps in practice as the 2. And so he's been getting a bunch of Monday Night Football reps too, so he's not going to be too rusty.
Yeah, what do you think about Johnny Williams when he gave you?
He's getting better. He's played, good for him that he's played against Penn State. That's kind of baptism by fire. You line up and you got 2 first-rounders in front of you. So but he's gotten better. He had to play that game. Where else he played? I mean, obviously played against Albany, but he played in another game, maybe the Kansas game, a series or 2, when Wyatt went out. So he's played now in 3 or 4 games, and he's getting better. He's getting better. Like he's still going to get stronger, but if he's called upon to start, I think he will function at a high level. Yes, sir, Mike. You're good.
Do you have any extra conversations or do anything different? Because if Nico is the starter, kind of a homecoming game for him.
Yeah.
You mentioned before treating players a little differently.
Yeah, it's different for him. You'd have to ask him where he considers from. You'd have to. I would probably say Colorado, but that's a him question. You know what I mean? Because that's really where he grew up.
He touched on it a little bit the other day, and did mention that he feels a little bit of a homecoming.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a question for him. He spent most of his time after COVID. He went out there and graduated, but I think I think he's going to feel a little extra. Now, this isn't his first start either, so I think that, and it's not going to be his first significant action. And he had a lot of pressure on him in high school, so I don't think that's necessarily going to affect him. But he'll have to do a good job of blocking out some of the noise if he's the guy on Saturday for sure.
Lost 2 in a row at home. Mm-hmm. Is there any positive to trying to take that backs against the wall mentality on a far road trip and get away from here?
Yeah, we played well on the road. I don't know. I think if you had your pick, you always play at home, but. I think the schedule is that we're on the road, so let's get ready to go on the road. We're not going to play home again for about a month, so probably need a break.
Go ahead.
You can't erase the past, but you can control the future. Mm-hmm. How do you expect and advise your players to handle it from here on out?
It really doesn't change, Bob, and this is going to be a real, kind of bland answer, but it's really how I feel is – every Monday, regardless of what happens on Saturday, we have an own it phase where you come in, you own your mistakes, and you put the previous game to bed, and then you get ready for the next. This week we put Kansas State to bed, and I think it's always important for coaches to own it as much as players to own it. And the second half just wasn't good enough. And we can make it, like, we got there's some really good excuses, like we did have a bunch of people hurt and all that, but truly nobody cares. So the bottom line is we got our tail kicked in the second half. That's what it was. It was right there, and there was two major plays in the game while it was still a game. We should have scored on second and third down before half, and then we should have scored on fourth down. And so we didn't score a touchdown there. They would have tied it 17-17. We got them into a 4th and 5, all right, and there was a clear holding call that they didn't call, and he scrambled around and made a play, and then 2 plays later they scored, and then we really laid an egg for an entire half offensively. But touchdown, and we get that holding call, it's a different game. I'm not saying we win because I don't know if we're good enough, because they played really well in the second half and we played poorly. But those 2 plays really set the rest of it in. And so I think what you do is you tell the guys, hey, we got to sustain. There's certain things we got to sustain. If we do that for the rest of the year, then we're going to be really good. If we play special teams like we did on Saturday against a really good special teams crew, man, then we were really good. And nobody wants to talk about that because we got a tail kick, but we were really good on special teams. Go watch our kickoff and watch our punt. Watch what we did on kickoff return that nobody else has done to them. We did some really good things. Our run defense, that was the #1 rushing offense in the Big 12 and a top 10 rushing offense in the country, I believe. And they got 114 yards or 112, something like that. And we got after their front. Our D-line in the run game really affected them, and we played extremely well in the run game. Now, we got to sustain that while at the same time, offensively, we got to get some semblance of a pass game. That was awful on Saturday. All right, so we got to be better in the pass game, and then we've got to be able to defend the pass at a much higher rate, because if you're stopping the run, but if you're giving up passing yards like we are, nobody needs to run it, right? And so we got to sustain what we're good at. We got to fix some things. We got to get people healthy. That's as big a thing as this week as any. Getting the guys that are going to be capable of playing on Saturday, getting them healthy, and getting them prepared for the heat, and let's go win a game.
Nico, I understand, call the same plays. Do you feel you can call more with him?
No, you try to go to a left-handed, more of a left-handed theory. And then I really try to call plays that we got reps logged in. I got a pretty good feel for what he rep. And what we do with the guys, last week, he didn't practice on Tuesday, I said, but on Wednesday and Thursday, we keep him out with it was him last week. It could be Ryder this week. We keep him after post practice, and what we do is we basically run all our pass concepts with our young players, and so he gets live reps versus the defense. They're not necessarily versus the exact coverages he's going to see in the game, but it's our young developing DBs that we think they got a chance to play for us, and with our younger wide receivers. So he gets reps in those, and I know what we're repping, and so try to call plays that he's confident in. And does that answer your question?
You said passing game has to get better, and he's a bit of a different quarterback. I understand that, but I wondered
yeah, so
are there things there that may be uncovered with the new quarterback?
Yeah, so here's what I'll say about passing game. We didn't run block very well up front, but we pass protected at a high level on Saturday. I should have said that during our sustained deal. But we got to be much better versus man coverage, and we got to be better in our route discipline. And then our quarterbacks got to do little things like drops, getting your eyes on the proper safeties, all right, and get your eyes in windows. And then we got to anticipate throws better. That's where we're struggling, okay? And when we've done that well, we've been efficient in the pass game. Saturday, we did not do any of those things well. We didn't run outside of Hudson Clement, all right, and then Traylon won a couple times. But for the most part, our wide receivers and tight ends didn't run very, very good man-principled routes. We didn't anticipate throws at quarterback. We didn't pick the proper footwork song, and then we didn't get our eyes in the right spots. And so now the good thing is all those things are correctable, but we didn't do that on Saturday, and we got to be way better moving forward. Arizona and everybody else after the bye.
Chance to figure out, you had said after the game Saturday, you weren't sure exactly when Garrett sustained the injury.
I'm not sure either. Maybe cumulative. I don't know. He took some hits in that game. Some that he probably shouldn't have, but some he took just because that's the way he plays. But I don't know if it was just on one play. I think it might have been cumulative. That's probably more of a medical question. I'm probably not fit to answer.
Problematic without Wyatt.
First of all, he's a great player. Mm-hmm. He is a great player, and he's playing at a super high level. So, will we miss him? Yes. Yes. Are we better when he plays? Absolutely. But we'll have a good plan, and I think Johnny's ready. And so I don't think we'll be any different, but we will miss him.
I think you said 4 head injuries at least in the game.
I didn't say head, you did.
What's that?
But I said body.
Okay. Anyhow, anything in common with them, and
I've never had that
vibe.
vibe. I've never had it. No, I don't. They're all different, and two of them really, I think, occurred on kind of freak plays. Really. What were you? I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you going to ask?
I was going to say is it helmet related? Is it technique related? Is it something that you can?
No, so a lot of these happen on deals you don't see. A lot of them happen by the ground. Like 2 of the 4 we had were by the ground, and so just kind of freak stuff. I mean, really, it's just it wasn't headgear related. It wasn't poor technique related. Just kind of things that happen within a game, really.
You mentioned in the post game the different ways that you and the coaches have tried to address underneath pass coverage and dropping and everything. When you get to this point, when you try to zone under, man, all those different things, do you go back to basics a little bit? Do you try to simplify?
Well, we tried all that. All right, I mean, so let's say that too. We've noticed been an issue, and then it was better because we changed up a few things, and then really Kansas State, and credit to them, is we were going to sell out to stop the run. And if they beat us passing the ball, then, okay, tip your hat, we were going to understand that. Now, really, if I thought they were going to beat us, it was going to be more on the perimeter or with shot plays, and they really only hurt us with 1 shot play. But they basically ran a spacing concept and just kind of dinked and dunked us. And let me credit their guys too. They got vertical after that. And so they had a good plan. They were easy completions for the quarterback, and then their guys did a nice job post catch. But I think so. What we've got to do is we've got to be able to mix some things up, and then we got to go back and have some answers. The personnel is not going to change. Everybody asks. I mean, we are what we are. And so I think we got to continue to evolve and present some different looks, where we're not doing the same things all the time.
How would you evaluate the overall state of the defense right now? It's been a big question this year.
Yeah, I think our pass defense has not been good. But I feel the same, just like I talked about just a second ago. I mean, our run defense was really, really good. Like Fatorma, Mulba, and Nose, that's an NFL center at Kansas State, and he won that battle. He played really well. Sean Martin played one of the better games of his career. We played well up front in our front 6 positions against the run. We played really well. But they threw for 300, and so we got to do a better job up front affecting passers, and then we got to do a better job in coverage. But I think our run defense was really good on Saturday.
Did you take time last night at all to watch the Steel game?
I had it on in the background, as I was watching Arizona. So I saw the pick Beanie had.
I was going to ask you, what is the message to your players, to maybe all college football players? Here's this kid that really didn't start where he was, came here, got a chance, went undrafted, and still is out there picking Aaron.
Yeah, that was a great play. Yeah, I kind of had it on, so I heard him. So I'll say this, everybody's path is different. Beanie's path was unique. He was a good high school player. Probably not a great high school player, but and I'm talking about from a recruiting perspective. Now, he was a great high school player, but recruit-wise, he was just a good recruit. He went to Western Kentucky. He had a great career at Western Kentucky. He went to Minnesota, and for whatever reason, that move wasn't great for him. He played, but didn't start all the time. But that move wasn't great, and then he made a really good decision to come here. And so his path is unique. I don't know if anybody else has taken that path and got the same result, right? But I thought he played well enough to be a drafted player last year. and he ran really well at the combine at the Big 12 deal. I think the thing that hurt him is his height, but he's strong and he's got great instincts. And that's a really hard measurable is instincts. And like the interception he had last night, that was an instinct play, and he's got really good hand-eye coordination too. But that was an instinct play, and he's got great instincts, and he's an ultra competitor. And he's one of these guys that like people genuinely like to be around. Like he comes back here a lot. All right, he comes back here a lot because we got good recovery stuff, and he doesn't pay for food. But he's like people genuinely like being around him, and he's a great teammate, and he loves football. He doesn't like football, like he loves football, and so I was happy for him. I was excited sitting in my office. Like I needed a good moment, and that was a good moment. All right.
You send me a text or anything at all?
Nah, I leave those guys alone, man. They know how I feel about them. So I texted Zach after he got hurt, but after that, I kind of leave him alone. But I'm happy for him because he's put a lot of work in to get that moment.
What are some of the keys to improving on getting off the field on 3rd and 4th downs defensively? Because that's really
it's those intermediate passes is what's getting us. I think they converted 2 third and maybe +7s the other night. I'm going off the top of my head, so if I'm wrong, forgive me. But a lot of those were in the 4 to 6, and we had one where we didn't do the right thing early in the game on their field goal drive. We should have got off on 3rd and 4. We had a corner that didn't do the right thing. But other than that, is they got us in zone, and they made good plays. So credit them. But we've got to, if you look at it, that's been our Achilles heel. Is we've played pretty well on 1st, 2nd down, but that 3rd to 4 to 6 where you should get off the field, at least half the time, and we're not doing that right now.
Kickoff return improvements. You used Preston Fox back there. You did that last year, but why'd you do the move?
Well, so Traylon didn't practice last week until later in the week, and so we wanted to be careful with him. And then trying to get Preston some touches. Preston's had some injury issues as well that's been limiting for him, and so trying to get him some touches back there because he's been so good at punt return. And so I knew he would get vertical on it, and he did. But we blocked that. We blocked those really well. I'll tell you, and it doesn't get much, but Reed Carrico, Ben Cutter, Torres Simmons, those guys are playing at a high level on special teams across the board.
Nationally, you all are high up in 10-yard plays. Just indicates you're doing something right, but the explosives just haven't clicked like you probably wanted or expected.
Yeah. We're not we're not getting as many explosive runs. And when you're not as explosive in the run game, it's not setting up those explosive passes. Now the weird thing, the weird thing about that is we've got, I forget what's the yardage where they do. Is it 20? I forget what it is. Whatever the yardage is for an explosive pass, we got a bunch that are 1 yard or 2 yards off that. Yeah, you know what I mean. I forget whether the yardage. We've got a lot that are right there in the ballpark. So I think that number is probably a little deceiving, Mike, because we're close. We're just not quite to whatever they deem explosive. But I think that's fair that we've got to have some bigger plays.
And then they have some firepower in their passing game, but the numbers it's been a struggle so far. Has there been something defensively that teams have done well against them? Have they just hit a rough spot offensively?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to speak for them. The quarterback has made some plays. They've had some injuries up front, I know. And they probably would like to run the ball at a higher rate than what they're running in a couple of their games. And teams are paying a lot of attention to 4, which you have to. I mean, he's probably going to be a top 10 pick at worst. He's really, really talented. And so that's how I would answer that without knowing exactly kind of what's going on there.
I guess I'd flip it like this: knowing what you guys do, and like you said, it hasn't been great defensively for you in the past. A 6'5" receiver, a quarterback who can get hot. Do you adjust what you have done?
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'd be foolish to try to play him exactly like we've played everybody else. Just because we've played good receivers, but this is in no means any negative toward anybody we've played. We haven't played anybody like him. And it's been a while since we played anybody that's like him. I'm trying to – the kid at TCU, He's first-round draft pick. Yeah. That was 2 years ago. Who else? Yeah. Yeah, Oklahoma had Mims, who's a good player, but not, yeah. So, I mean, that would be the closest thing. That's the one off the top of my head but I think we have to, for sure, I mean, we're not just going to line up and play one-on-one.
Quay Hubbard was in here a little bit ago. We were talking with him about he's kind of that pregame speech guy. He's really kind of grown into that, and now he's kind of requesting. What makes a good guy in that role?
Pregame, I don't know. Like, sometimes those work, sometimes they don't. I'll tell you what he's got and why our players pay attention, because he's taken probably the road less traveled. He's you can look at him. There's before pictures and after pictures, and how he's changed his body is really remarkable. And from where he came from to where he's at, and like how he's handles himself off the field and what he's done academically and through our climbers program. So he's earned the respect of his teammates by the work he's put in and how he's changed his body and changed really his trajectory of his life when football's over. And so that's why he can do it. But I think it's everybody's a little bit different. But that's why they pay attention to him.
One thing he mentioned I thought was interesting. He said this is a time of the year when guys kind of get lax on sleep and body maintenance and take care of their stuff. Is that a concern to you?
Well, you try to you preach to them, and I think the ones that it's really important to, then they listen and they're going to take care of their bodies. Like in this game, your body is your tool, and you've got to hydrate it. You've got to make sure you're fueling it with the proper nutrition, and you've got to get sleep. And then we have all this recovery stuff in the building that they should take advantage of. We have athletic training that's here all the time, physical therapy, et cetera, et cetera. And so the guys that it's really important to, they put a priority on that stuff.
Go, but the technology now can kind of tip you off of these things where before you couldn't do that.
Yeah, we do. Like they have the rings and so some of them use them, some of them don't. We don't make them do it, but it gives you a little indicator. And you can kind of, there's some guys that do it and they do it throughout the week, and you see a consistency in their performance level. There's a reason why they perform consistently at a high level. And then you got others that don't do it. Then you got others that kind of try to rally at the end of the week sometimes, and that helps. But over the course of the year, that doesn't. It's kind of like cramming for a test. You'll get it every once in a while, but sometimes it's not going to go your way. And so, yeah, I think the people that's really important to, and what you need that core group of guys that are going to play for you for it to be important to, and then try to hold hold the fringe guys accountable. And so that's kind of. But the message is we have to, and we better this week because it's going to be in the 90s, which I'm for, man. I'm the hotter the better. But it's going to be in the 90s. We got to prepare our bodies, and it doesn't start on Thursday. It starts today.
You talked a lot about the character of the team.
Yeah.
What exactly, maybe to expand on that further, makes you believe that this team, everyone's still together to turn this around?
We got good people. We got good people. We've had some adversity here through several years, man, and our kids won't quit. Our staff's not going to quit. You go back to work and played a really hard schedule, and it is what it is, And bottom line is we got a game this week, and we're going to sell everything out to try to win this game, and then we're going to take a break because everybody needs one. And then we'll come back, and we got 4 games left to finish up. So, all right, guys, appreciate it.